just wait for it to update and see when it comes live on this YouTube thing. We can always edit the. All right, yeah, okay, cool. We are live. Okay, well, hello to everyone. We'll probably wait a little bit. There'll be hopefully a few more people join in a bit. But hey to everyone. Welcome to another Voclear live stream. This time we're joined by Adam Feynman, also known as Beatox. Hopefully some of you guys watching will have seen him in some videos. He's been working with Doubler for quite a while, so it's probably there's quite a few clips hanging around using Doubler. He was our competition winner last year, and also just recently, a week or two ago, just did another video with us, which was this kind of live beatboxing and sort of humming at the same time. It's quite crazy. I'm just going to actually post a link now in the chat. If anyone hasn't seen it, then follow that link and go check it out. And yeah, I guess with Adam here, we're just going to chat a bit about how Adam uses Doubler. We'll go a little bit into kind of the setup and stuff, to how he gets these sounds and triggers. So Adam, I guess, well, you can introduce yourself a bit, I guess, but I guess just let us know what you do in general about your music and what you do, I guess. Just a brief intro into Beatox.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as Beatox, it's almost like the word beatbox. So I'm first and foremost, I guess, a beatboxer and vocal percussionist, but also I do a lot of I write a lot of lyrics and produce sort of full songs with typically a lot of musicians. It kind of blends in the jazz, hip hop, kind of groovy world, and I've been working with a lot of different musicians from Europe, doing a project with a group called Free Kind, musicians in Canada. I'm based in Canada, so I'm right now in Winnipeg, which is right in the middle of Canada. So yeah, just trying to navigate kind of how things are going in COVID. I'm just sort of hunkered down here and producing music here and trying to use Doubler to incorporate beatboxing into my music more.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, we're what we'll do is, I guess, so there's that video that you did recently. I guess to start with, we might just basically, if you just joined now as well, like I said, I've posted a link a bit earlier in the chat so you can watch that video back if you want to know what we're talking about. I guess we'll just go through that a little bit. I guess also, just as a bit of a warning, we're obviously doing this just from me and Adam from our laptops at home. So the noise and the audio might be a little bit touch and go at times. Let us know if it gets too bad. But so just bear in mind that it might be a bit iffy at times, but we'll roll with it. I think it should be fine. But so I guess with that video, you've got this, well, the Ableton set here, but I guess we can start with the basics of like, what is it, I guess, what is going on in that video? Because you can see you beatboxing, humming, you can hear obviously the drums and everything. I guess just go through what setup you had for that video.
Yeah, so for that one, I wanted to really showcase sort of what I'm able to do as a beatboxer, which is humming and beatboxing simultaneously. And no loops, no layering, just simple, just like a one take. And it sort of demonstrate what I can do and also what Doubler can do. So basically what I'm doing is going like, which is cool on its own. And I'll play I'll solo this track. So this track up here is what I just did. So let's do that. So beginning here we have. So it's pretty basic. And then what Doubler is doing, so every time I'm humming, it's taking the bass line. So here with the bass line. And this is all happening in real time. And then I set up a third track for the drums that are reacting to my beatboxing, which makes it sound like this. So that's kind of the idea. It's 3 layers. So this one's the mic audio itself, audio 1 here, and then I call it Voclear. This is all the drums reacting, my drum kit here. and then the bass line that's reacting to my humming. And that's all done through, a combination of in the doubler software. So we have the beat side on the left here, and pitch was being detected here. And yeah, it's all just like one take, which is really cool. And you can hear the difference. It's like so much, in my opinion, like just so much bigger and sort of more expression than just the one mic on its own when you start to incorporate the beats and electronics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, would you? I guess they're actually frozen. But I guess would you mind just like let's have a
Yeah,
look at like that drum MIDI?
yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
just to see what is actually going in there. So you've got a drum kit set up in Ableton that's just a drum rack with the samples you want to use, right? And then yeah, so
Yep.
just like that. And then
Yes. So I have my my 8. So I typically in here I have around 8. Usually goes kick, hi hat, rim shot, different kind of snare. So let's see here. Oh, that's a recorder on it. So yeah. Oh, the hi hat raised. Got my congos. The cool kind of wobble snare thing that I just threw in. And then that all gets triggered, yeah, down here on my drum rack here.
yeah, I guess that is quite crazy because, well, I mean, most of us like will have a few triggers, but all 8 triggers is like quite a bit of skill to I guess separate those sounds. I've been using Doubler for quite a long time now, and I can max it at like 5 triggers maybe. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see all 8 being used at the same time. Yeah,
I was even gonna ask if maybe you're gonna make it so you could even do more, because eight, I'm eight's comfortable, but I could even go further, but
yeah. Or maybe we could could do some sort of crazy build where we can push it to its limits. I guess it's starting to be the human limits at that point. But yeah, so then when you record it in, I guess those basically just comes through as that MIDI information in Ableton. So, and then at the same time, you said basically you're doing humming in between, which you've got going, I presumably, on a different channel on the pitch side of things, right, in Doubler?
yeah. So what it's happening is, yeah. So as I'm humming, so let's just take this little part for example. That bum, 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 bum. So you can hear I'm sort of humming these notes simultaneously and in between notes, and it takes it in. So I just had a bass thing that's going. So you're putting both together. Oh, sorry, I looped it there.
Sorry.
And it's great because it's even if it's off a little bit, if a note's off a little bit, it's staying within the right key, and I can go in and fine tune that MIDI information, which is what I did sometimes. I'm a little wobbly because I'm beatboxing at the same time, but I can go in and into the MIDI and basically just just edit it. And the hits are there, the timing, the organic human delivery is there, which is what makes it so much fun and easy to kind of produce with, because you can always fine tune the MIDI afterwards, but the timing is and the
Yeah.
sustain notes and stuff is what I'm hearing inside.
Yeah, well, I guess part of it as well was that with this video we sort of got in touch with you because this was done with the release of 1.2. So if you guys are kind of new to Doubler, then we just recently went from 1.1 over to 1.2, where we sort of improved the trigger side, tried to make it a bit more reduce the latency, a bit more reactive, and just generally a bit better, I guess. So part of it was also doing these kind of slightly faster runs a bit more consistently. So that's something interesting to hear, like that you can do these, because it's something that I guess even for me, I kind of want to know is how you do those. I guess are they triplets or just like the faster ones in succession accurately with Doubler? Because I just kind of stumble and then I start to get the notes a bit iffy. So like how you can do those notes so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of just me as a beatboxer being able to do like, I think it's actually picking it up from the table. Just practicing that. So, training your sort of tongue and mouth, and then training with Doubler to really. and making sure that it's, not going to pick up other sounds, but I definitely noticed with 1.2 that it was able to pick up almost as fast as I can go, which is huge. So and you can see the animation here. So yeah, it's just a combination of practicing my triplets and 16th notes and even 30-second notes with my hi-hats, and then really sort of clicking this sort of hi-hat here. And you see mine's all maxed out because I find like to get the best sort of performance out of the software right before I'm actually doing a video or a live performance. I train it and go, hey, this is my hi-hat in this context, and this is how I'm going to be delivering it right now. And that's how you just sort of get the best reaction, because sometimes you'll train it in a certain room and then the next day you're in a different room and it's just sound. It's saying, hey, we remembered this differently, so now it might not fire or react perfectly. So that's kind of my tips and tricks for getting the best hi-hats and beatboxing in general.
Yeah, it's something I really want to improve. It's like it almost like makes me think of how with a lot of types of music, like how obviously like drum sequencing and drum programming became a way of like hearing something that was just like never been done before, like humans couldn't do it almost. But now I feel like with doublet, it's hearing you do things like that. It's kind of weird to almost go the other way, where again, it's hearing drums in a way that almost could never be done organically, but it is still organic, I guess. It's still done by a human, but it's just done in a different way with the voice. So it's hearing someone who can do that and then hearing it in real time is quite crazy. Also I obviously forgot to mention, but if anyone is in the chat and has any questions, then obviously feel free to fire away. We can just like put them in. I'm keeping an eye on the chat so we can ask Adam any questions or or whatever. So I'm just gonna just double checking the stream's all healthy and working. So I guess that's in the context of this kind of video where you're doing voice and drums at the same time. You have it set up for that, but also if you guys have seen, I'll dig this out so I can put a link in it as well, our competition last year, you won that with the video that you did with Serge Paul, is it? Have I said that right?
Yeah.
And that's where you're collaborating, I guess, with other musicians, and sort of. So I guess, how do you work with Doubler with other musicians? I guess how does it fit in with those kind of things?
So when I first got it and we used it in that video, like I had just gotten the mic.
How long have you been using the mic? I guess it's been quite. You got it. You were one of the first few people to get it, right?
I think it was right around. I think it finally came to Canada right around New Year's. Maybe you know what? Actually, that's not. I think a little earlier. I think I got it in maybe November.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really.
Went out.
The first batch, I started messing around with it, and then it took me a bit. It's a learning curve to like really master this thing, and so I think once I came to Winnipeg for the holidays, that's when I felt comfortable enough with it to kind of start recording and incorporating it. So I made it simple. I used it as like a kick. I just put it here, and I can make this kick sound with my throat. And in normal like acoustic setting, it's really quiet. So if I'm trying to say, hey, I want to do like a beat with my throat, you can't always hear that kick. And that's been a tough thing for me. So I was like, let's just see if I can use this as a kick trigger. And it was perfect for that. It reacted, no latency. And so in the context with Serge Paul, I used it as a kick trigger initially. And then we started getting to looping, and I started realizing, I can use it as a throat kick, and then if I'm looping it, then I can move it to my mouth and have it start triggering all sorts of other sounds. Yeah. And so in that video, that's what we did. It started as a kick, then it blended and added percussion, and then maybe like a thicker snare, and just sort of showcase the different sounds that I can do and different sounds that Doubler could do.
Yeah, we had someone. Bunfest has said, "Can you show us your profile settings?" I guess if you just bring Doubler up, I guess you can just show sort of. So you've got these I guess we're talking about triggers mostly here. So I guess
Hmm.
you've got these triggers. I can see your input sensitivity is a bit high. I guess just sort of like how you've got it set up and how that works for you personally for your style.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the room and the setting. This will obviously move around depending on what's going on. I typically, when I'm building, here, let me unrecord arm. So what I like to do is, I mentioned it before, but I like to start with a kick. So I'll like dial in my kick with drum one, then hi-hats, rim shot, and then really whatever other sounds you like to make. Obviously, it's specific on the person. And then, yeah, my sensitivity, I guess, is high right now, but
And that's
it
for
can,
like, that helps with like velocity and stuff, right? Or I guess is it just in general or just also how it picks it up?
yeah, I think for me, I think the reason why I had it high was because if my if my mouth is too close to the mic, then it might have a bit of it. It starts in picking up on like wind and other things. So I
Yeah.
keep it a little further away so that it's really hearing the specific sound.
Hmm.
But then if you're pulling it away, yeah, it might not be able to pick up the small micro hi-hat timing stuff. So then I think I would just pull this up until it's really getting every little thing I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
That's I never really thought about that. I guess, but yeah, in terms of like really getting accurate is making sure that because obviously the closer it is, there's lots of noise going on as
mhm.
you even move your lips around. So yeah, I guess further away with high sensitivity, and then
Yeah,
yeah.
like if I, oh,
Sorry.
go
Go
on.
on.
I was just gonna say, like, if I'm doing something like I find that the difference, like going between a kick and a hi-hat, like, there's something that like little bit of wind could accidentally throw off a snare, and they're happy accidents. You can get these cool ghost noted,
Yeah.
snare hits that it's like, oh, I never would have put that there, but that sounded really awesome. So there's a lot of happy accidents that can happen with this, which I think is really cool. Because
Yeah.
then you're getting beats that are happening that you're not even thinking about. But if you wanted like exact perfect detail, then I try to hold it a little bit further back and really make sure that I'm delivering the exact sounds that I trained it.
Yeah. Well, I guess also then your pitch kind of saying. So for like for this where you were doing your thing at the same time, what have you got
Hmm.
going on? So I can see you've got a custom scale, which presumably is you've just picked out the notes you want to use.
Yeah, so I'll do a few things. Like my music theory isn't that strong, to be honest. So what I typically do is if I'm hearing something, so for that video, I was going like hmm, hmm. So I would hum that in, and then it would tell me kind of roughly what notes I'm hitting.
Yeah.
Um,
And using the note selector, right?
no, I would do this like and then like tell it to stop. It would. I didn't do it very well there, obviously, but I would sing into it. Go be
It's
quiet.
just on chromatic now, so it's just an
Oh,
auto
okay.
key.
So yeah, I would be. Yeah, I'll change this thing up for a second. But yeah, so I would usually sing the notes or hum the notes, and then let it sort of tell me what I'm humming. It would suggest a scale. I would probably activate the scale, see if that makes sense, and then I would go in and delete. I would turn off notes that I don't think I'm even hitting at all, and try to narrow it down to exactly the notes that I'm humming, and and then let it do its thing. And then yeah, I would just
Yeah.
continue my beatboxing, figure out what's like roughly what notes I'm hitting, and then
I can see
uh,
also you've got your stickiness like all the way high. I guess that's good for if you're
mm,
beatboxing at the same time. It kind of makes sure that it doesn't skew too much. Like
yeah, I think just because the nature of humming and beatboxing simultaneously, it's going there's going to be flutter,
yeah,
and sometimes I'm even humming through my throat, and it's not like I can still produce the. So for it to pick up that bass tone, it's going through skin. It's not a perfect note, and so the stickiness will help it from fluttering around too much and kind of keep it stable, and um, and then yeah, so then and then again, I'll just be able to edit any misfires on my part or on its part.
yeah. Okay, cool. Also, this is not related to Adam. Max said about correcting the 808 baseline. If you go to the private group, also for anyone not watching, if you're not a member of our private group on Facebook, it's for kind of for doubler owners. If you're interested, you can request access. The last live stream we've got in there is me trying to make a trap beat, which includes some 808 bass lines. I don't make trap.
Sweet.
It's quite dodgy, but there's some stuff in there about using doubler for that. So I reckon maybe go and check that out if you're interested. But yeah, I guess, yeah, we've got quite a few more people who joined. If you're kind of new here, I guess, just brief recap, we're just chatting with Adam, who is Beatox, who has recently done a few videos for us, but using doubler for a while. We're just chatting about how he uses that. So, where are we at now? I guess also, so you mentioned a bit before we came on there was a beat that you had sort of put together using doubler. I guess what we can do is, I guess, yeah, so this is just a simple beat that you've made using doubler. I guess can kind of like pick it apart a little bit, or just kind of show how you might build up a beat using your mouth and doubler, I guess, and we can go through that.
Yeah, I'll just pull it up here. So basically, this was, yeah, exactly. This was a beat that's using 2 mics, because I used, so.
Yeah, well, actually, so this is good timing. Bunfest just put, yeah, I noticed that you have 2 doublers in your dock. Why?
Oh, okay, yeah, well, I'll get to that in a sec when this,
Okay,
well,
we'll
I can talk
get
about
into it.
So basically, as most people will beatbox with one mouth, or rather one mic, but I can use my throat to create melody and a kick, and that separation allows you to have more. You're able to do like 16th note hi-hats. So for instance, if I'm going like that kick that is blocking the hi-hats, you can't do both at the same time. But if you do it through your throat, you can go. And so you get those 16th notes. So what I've now done is I use 2 mics, one's capturing the kick, one's capturing everything else from the mouth. And so what I do is I have 2 instances of doubler. So here, I'll pull this up here. And so what I'll do is this one will be let's call this mouth. That's going to pick up your traditional, all that stuff. And then here, I'm just going to move this one's just a kick. And it would be for any kind of mic you can put down here. And every time I go, it's going to trigger my kick. And actually what I would do is I would turn this one off, because then you're going to get 2 kicks otherwise. And so I would have, and you can have this one doing pitch too. So if I'm going, you see it's detecting my pitch down here. So this is the throat doubler, and this is the mouth doubler.
Yeah.
And so having 2 of them allows you to get more flexibility for me as a beatboxer. And
yeah, it's always really interesting for us to see people, because we get people doing, yeah, these kind of like setting up these kind of crazy setups that we hadn't thought of, or like experimenting using these types of things, or with their own mics and all this stuff. So it's always really interesting to see, and it also helps us, a bit kind of think about where we're going with it in the future. But yeah, that's interesting. You have a throat doubler and a mouth doubler.
Yeah, so that, like here you see like vocally a kick, and that's exactly what it is. I just put a mic on my throat, and it's just capturing my kicks, and then I have the mic audio itself, which is going to capture the hi-hat. So here, I'll play this. So this is just this.
Yeah, I guess we'll just should we play the beat in full first, and then maybe we can just have a listen to sort of what each bit is going on.
So yes, so everything here was produced using doubler except the keys. The keys I just pulled out a little MIDI keyboard, and just played something pretty basic. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. For me to be able to whip this together like pretty quickly, and it's entirely from the mouth and from me, my voice, that's pretty special. And so I'll dissect it a little bit so you can just hear this is like the main microphone. You can hear the humming. I'll turn it up a bit. And then the bass line going with it. And then you have the kick. And then and then the snare was being captured. And then I wanted to kind of add more hi-hats after. I wanted to add 16th and some more percussion. So I did a whole layer of sort of additional hi-hats, percussion stuff with Voclia or with Doubler. And so then the beat ended up sounding like this. And then I added the keys. You can kind of still hear, like, I left, just in this example, I still left the human humming, just because I think it's cool, like.
For sure.
And just keeping that human quality, because a lot of this is electronics, and I'm a traditionally acoustic guy. I like to record and play with, live musicians, and it's mostly audio waves I'm dealing with. And so I wanted to, I don't know, I think there's something special showing and keeping that voice and sound wave, and just saying, hey, this is still human expression and human feel.
It's something
being supported.
It's something we spoke about a bit before around the competition time, was that, having, I guess it is this link, I guess, almost between electronic music and people have done it in different ways. There's like finger drumming as a way to do it, and using the voice as a way to start putting in, also, like you mentioned a bit as well before, almost like happy accidents as well, like this like natural swing that I know you can do it in Ableton with groove pools and stuff, but to actually get that natural swing just with your voice is quite like it's a kind of more faithful way to input this kind of MIDI information. That's just reading through the chat at the moment. All right, that's I mean, it's nice to see that, just like building it up bit by bit. Sorry, I'm just reading through the chat and trying to do two things at once.
It's all good. It's a lot of work, multitasking.
Someone just needs a bit of support at the moment. Email us at help@voclia.co.uk if you need any support or help. I'd like to say we're pretty active with it. If you need any help, make sure you check your spam and junk folders if any replies have gone to there. We're always happy to do video calls with everyone if you need any setup help. So just email us at help@voclia.co.uk. Wait a day or two. We're in the UK time, so sometimes we might be sleeping, but make sure you check any junk or spam for replies, and we're happy to arrange help tutorials and stuff. But also, I mean, it's something I guess just segueing from that, it's good, hopefully in the future we can have people like Adam who's talking about these things. We'll carry on doing these AMAs with different artists who use it in different ways, and hopefully we can get a bit of more insight into specifically what they do and the best practices and stuff. It's really interesting to see, like, even just talking about the way you use your mouth and stuff. I guess, is there any tips you have in general for people who are starting out with doubler and using their mouth for triggers? What would you say, I guess, is like the first few things in terms of getting beats down?
I think, and I sort of say this to people I'm teaching to do beatboxing, it's sort of the same. It's having consistency in your sounds, and breath control is really important, because you're teaching the software what the sound is, and if you start with a lot of impact, so it's going to learn that, and then if you start to kind of get tired after a few bars, you're going, it's hard for it to remember those sounds. And so I sort of teach people to just really try to keep your beats consistent and be aware of breath control and knowing when to breathe, and keeping your sounds like really consistent.
Someone has asked, do you use drum rack for your drums?
I do, yeah. So I'm by no means a master of Ableton.
But I can see you've got like a sort of your own preset, like you've got a sort of custom drum rack.
Yeah, well, I was just doing all these. I mean, I ended up making almost a whole album using Doubler as sort of the assistance for the beats. Maybe about half the tunes had it, and so I wanted to do these looping videos and wanted to make something to kind of speed up the process for whenever we started new sessions. So I just created a preset that just had Beatox drum rack vocally. I guess this was a session I did with a great saxophone player named Gordon Highland, and yeah, so I do that, and that way I can just open up drum rack, pull in my preset. I just type in vocally up here, pull it in, and then I have at least a whole set of sounds that I know, like these bottom 8 or so. I think this one as well. These sounds I know will correlate to my doubler already. So instantly I can just pull it up and just start going, and I know I'm going to get some sounds. And then it's basically a matter of building the kit and replacing the sounds accordingly to fit the vibe.
Yeah. So Marcus is also saying, I guess this isn't really for Adam, just can I output the sounds on individual MIDI channels right now? Yeah, so I guess we're just talking about drum racks now. The way sort of doubler works is that, we have the triggers, and they're all going out on MIDI channel 10. So this works with things like drum racks where it's one channel or one track and it's all receiving information, and then you have it set up on different notes. So like one trigger, say the kick will be a C1, your side stick will be a C#2 or whatever, and that's kind of how it works. And so what you want to do is, I don't know what DAW you're running, but say in Ableton we use like drum racks because that's an easy way to do it on one track. To separate the sounds. In Fruity Loops, for example, there's a thing called FBC. So there might be like a similar thing that's like a blank canvas that you can all put it in, that's one track for whatever DAW you're in. Or alternatively, you could also do, so you can see like Adam has also got like snare on one track, kick on another. You could separate it so you actually had, they were all receiving information at the same time for MIDI channel 10, but just had individual sounds in each one. That would also work in terms of controlling a whole kit. Yeah, it's about just working in what's your DAW. But if, like I mentioned before, if you want specific setup help, just ping us an email at help@vocally.co.uk. I can do a little bit of research into what you're doing, and we can just guide you through how to set up a whole drum kit. But that's hopefully just a brief overview of how it works. But yeah, just give us a message if you need anything more in depth. Yeah, I guess Ableton does lend itself to drum racks quite nicely, I guess, which is a good way to work with that.
Yeah, one thing I'd wish I should research this more. I've just been kind of lazy, but it would be cool if I could sort of somehow drop down menu this so that it would reveal all the different drums and their own channels, even within one channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's things like that. You can. I'm sure there is a way, because in Logic there's a thing called like extract MIDI where it will separate them all into each one. There is a way to do that with drum racks. I think if basically when you're in the other view, session view, there's a little drop down thing next to, if you click on that, then there's each individual channels, and if you want you can just drag them all out and it will put them into each one, and you can see each one there. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, that's hilarious. I was looking for this concept in this view, and I was like, how come I can't just like show all my kick, all the individual drums?
For some reason that same button just does something different in the different view. But yeah, you can see each one's like that. Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned, like you can always what I do is a workaround for the whole like having isolated control with the mic is I just duplicate my drum rack, and then I just delete the sounds that I'm not using. So for snare, I just kept my snare and deleted the kick and whatever else.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a temporary workaround to have sort of individual tracks for each individual drum sound.
Yeah, also that's a good way. When I first started, when I was a bit messy with the sounds, that was a good way for me, just making sure it was more accurate. It was the similar way to where like note selection and restricting notes, restricting certain drum sounds and just getting rid of it on some channels, so that I would just be sure that it was not hitting, even if I wanted. Yeah, we got a little bit derailed earlier, I guess, because we had some questions when we were chatting about working with other musicians. But
Oh,
working with, have you got? I guess, have you got any projects coming up at the moment, or what have you got? What's going on right now
yeah.
with your music?
Well, I had just released this project called The Musical Mind that featured like 9 or 10 musicians from all around. So that
What's
was something
where can we find that? I'm gonna try find a link quickly and post
yeah.
it in the chat.
So it's yeah, it's Beatox, A Musical Mind. You can find that on all streaming services, so Spotify, Apple Music, uh, and it's actually there's a whole video component to it on YouTube that so every song has a video of a live performance of the song because it's all just one take, and that was sort of the focus was showcasing beatboxing and its use with doubler and its use with sort of multi-mic techniques and how it can be incorporated with different genres. So some songs I've done with my mom, who's a folk artist and sort of blues guitar singer, and a guitar playing singer, and jazz sort of duet stuff, and more like electronic. So that Gordon, this drum rack here in the bottom left, that came from the session. That's like really jazz fusion and like a 7 minute tune of looping and beatboxing and rapping. And
I'm gonna post the Bandcamp link in the chat if anyone's there is interested. The Bandcamp link's there.
yeah, for sure. If you can buy the album on Bandcamp.
Yeah,
You can
pro
stream it
Bandcamp. I'm a big fan of Bandcamp.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do any company promotion, but buy your music on Bandcamp, people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it helps. Our money goes to the artist, so that always
Yeah.
is obviously very appreciated. And so one of the tunes is with a woman named Sarah from Croatia. So I mentioned it earlier, but I'm doing like a 5 tune EP with Free Kind. They're from Croatia and Slovenia. I managed to link up with some Europeans, which is really cool. I'm very pro Europe. I think we did a tour last summer there and in sort of Central Europe there, and I had just had the best time. And European musicians are outstanding, and it was just like a really surreal experience. So yeah, I guess we were hoping to have that released this spring, summer, but obviously with COVID, live shows and touring just like isn't a thing. So we're pushing that off to probably maybe the fall, but we might just wait a whole year and just release and push everything next spring and summer. And also got like a jazz record that's super, I say jazz, but it's just experimental jazz funky thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't have doubler. This was all pre-doubler, but that record will come out. This is again, who knows, maybe
Like to
next
think
year.
of music in pre and post doubler terms. It's very flattering.
Yeah, so it's less electronic. It's very acoustic.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I mean, just a lot of, and then some other sort of singles stuff coming out. We actually did a tune that was cool that did feature doubler. That I can maybe send you the link, or you could look it up. It's called "Don't Be Afraid," and it's Beatox and Friends. And it was a COVID kind of inspired thing, but right when COVID first hit, I made a beat with my roommates using doubler, doing the 2 mic technique, and I just wanted to figure out how to keep collaborating because I could tell I wasn't going to be able to work with artists for a long time.
Yeah.
So we built this beat, and then I started working with, the girls from Free Kind were part of it, artists from the States and Canada. Everyone kind of added their parts in Ableton, filmed themselves, and I made this, like, in my opinion, a pretty awesome video. And yeah, it's just like a giant collage of like 10 artists in one tune. That's pretty special, and it uses doubler to make some pretty dope beat.
Yeah, I guess, is that similar? I guess you mentioned live with the like Free Kind thing. So like, how does doubler fit into like live shows? I guess it's a slightly different thing.
So it's still new. I've only actually done a few concerts with doubler, and I used it primarily as a kick mic because I know that way it's super stable. I'm not worried about misfirings, because the one thing about doubler is if you're having like amps and stuff and other sounds pointing at it, it might get triggered by something. So it's obviously ideal if you're wearing headphones because it's not picking up other sounds. So when I perform it live and we have, stage monitors, I think I got a little worried that it would either not loop, but like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
cause some misfiring. So I use it just as a kick, and then I have a traditional mic on my mouth, and that's been great. I mean, that's already for me like huge, because now my kick on my throat is like massive.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's something like it's new. I guess it's new to everyone's kind of life stuff, and it's new to us as well. Like we just like I said, we just did 1.2. We're doing triggers, and yeah, definitely, hopefully, further down the line, we can really focus on like live stuff as well to try and like kind of make it. What's the word? I guess just making it optimum for like for live performance. So it's something we hopefully can work on in the future, like to really get going.
Yeah, I would definitely like to use it. I mean, I almost performed with it at the end of March for this festival here in Manitoba.
Yeah,
For Cluster Festival, and that like I was gonna like perform that album, that Musical Mind project, and I definitely thought like, oh crap, how are we gonna deal with monitoring, even with looping too, like even beyond doubler, like live looping on stage with monitoring.
Yeah,
is
it's
always
a
an
bit
issue.
of a it's something to wrap your head around for sure.
But I think there's, when I get to the point, and when live performances are happening more frequently, I think it's going to be really special, because when I've used the mic in a studio setting, or like a kind of a studio live hybrid setting back in Toronto, people were just like completely blown away, and that was really cool. And so I think it's going to happen, and I'm going to keep practicing it,
Yeah,
just because that's great.
yeah, it's just something I forget. Often we obviously speak with people who make music, and like we're with producers, and so we show it, and the concept is still pretty new. But yeah, to even to people who have no like mind about like music or whatever, is be quite fun to start seeing doubler out in the wild in live shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading the chat again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
split my brain in two.
Okay, do your thing.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, yeah, that's all good. I guess we'll start wrapping things. We could probably chat about stuff for quite a while, but we should tidy it up. But yeah, so there's a few links that are through the chat. So if you're joined, go through them, check out Beatox stuff. There's the link, the most recent one to his Bandcamp, where you can check out some of the music we just talked about. There's the videos as well. You can see that the video we talked about at the beginning on our IGTV and stuff, or just our YouTube community playlist. I think Adam's in it a few times there. So yeah, I mean, thanks very much for joining us. Also, yeah, we'll hopefully carry on with these things. If you want to see other stuff, you can join our private group, where we do slightly messier streams, where we just mess around making beats and stuff, or I attempt to. So do join us on there if you want as well. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us and chatting and showing a bit about how you use doubler. It's really interesting, even for us as the company. There's all these ideas we never thought about. So it's exciting stuff.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun being able to talk beatboxing and beats, and
Yeah.
help out anybody who has questions, because I know it takes a bit. It's a bit of a learning curve, sort of using this software mic combination stuff, and
Yeah, well, on that as well, there's a few people in the chat. Like we said, if you need anything, drop us a line at help@Vocally, and we'll try our best to get back to you as soon as possible. All our socials as well as usual. You can write us messages, drop us comments, whatever. We keep on track. But yeah, all right. Well, I guess we'll call it there. Thanks so much, and we'll hopefully we'll see some more stuff from you soon. Hopefully some live shows in the not too distant future when that's going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
thanks, man.
Yeah, of course.
On the stream.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.